Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Under strange and unexplainable circumstances. Most cases remain unsolved. What happened? Where did they go? Locations unknown.
Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who can build a snowman from rainfall, Mike Van de Bogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you once.
You're welcome, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thank you to all of our amazing listeners for tuning in. Just a couple of announcements before we go in here. So first, I'd like to give a new Patreon shout out to Craig Cisneros. That's the only one this week. So Cisneros. So thank you so much for supporting the show.
Yeah, thank you, Craig.
And we're going to try a little promotion here. I talked to Joe before we started. So we're obviously trying to build up our base on YouTube. So if anyone's listening that hasn't subscribed on YouTube and also hasn't become a Patreon member, if you the first 25 to subscribe on YouTube and make sure your YouTube publishes your subscription so we can see it. And then you go over to our Patreon account, sign up for a free account, and message us. We'll gift you a 1 month free subscription to the Patreon membership. So
there you go.
Check it out, but you've got to sign up. You got to subscribe on YouTube first.
And then YouTube's a free subscription, right?
Yeah, free.
So you're just going to follow us essentially.
Follow us on YouTube.
Costs you nothing.
Costs you nothing, and then you become a free supporter on Patreon. Also costs you nothing. And then just message us that you've done that, and we'll gift you a free the $5 tier. We won't be sending you a bumper sticker. You'll have to sign up the following month to get your free bumper sticker. But
you get all the episodes.
Yeah, you get to try it out, and we're going to be recording a Patreon episode after this episode. So check it out.
Boom.
Also, if you want to call the show, you can call 208-391-6913. Leave a voicemail or text the show. Check out the other shows on the Unknown Media Group Network, Peanut Butter and Mountain Podcast, Off the Trails, The Weirdos, We Know Who Runs This Park, and Crime Off the Grid. If you've not listened to the Crime Off the Grid interview we did with them during the live stream, check out our podcast feed or go over to YouTube. The interview was really fun.
It was good.
And we're going to get them back to do a longer interview because they have so many cool stories. So,
all the war stories.
And like I said, you can support us on Patreon, YouTube memberships, premium subscriptions on Apple, Spreaker subscriptions. And if you can't support us monetarily, just like us and follow us on all the different social media platforms. That helps us more than you know.
Yeah, take all your loved ones' phones and go subscribe for them. They don't even have to know about it. It's free.
Create 5 accounts on each of them and subscribe with all of them. No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah. So, all right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. April 6th, 2017. A lone cyclist sets out into Washington's Olympic wilderness, towing a trailer packed with camping gear and determination. Days later, park rangers find the bike and gear abandoned on a remote road, but no sign of the traveler. What follows is a baffling series of search efforts, false leads, and clues scattered across one of the most rugged national parks in the country. With unpredictable weather, dense forests, and towering mountains, This is the landscape that just doesn't give up its secrets easily. Join us this week as we investigate the mysterious disappearance of Jacob Gray. So we are going to Olympic National Park.
I've hiked there. It's cool.
I'm going to be going there with my wife and daughter in a couple months because she's going to college.
Yeah.
And we're going to do trips with our kids right before they go to school. And she wanted to go hiking in the Pacific Northwest. And I was just so proud. It brought tears to my eyes that's what she wanted to do with her time.
It's cool. We did a multi-day backcountry trip where we actually camped out on the beach.
Ooh,
in Olympic National Park.
That'd be nice. We're not doing any overnight camping because we want to hit so many spots. So we're actually going to be up in, is it Vancouver's up there?
Yeah.
We're going to be in Canada and do some national parks, come down into Washington and Oregon. So we're hitting a ton of spots.
Yeah, when I was out there, we did Mount Rainier National Park, and then we did Olympic. Okay. And it was cool. You actually have to get tide charts, and we had to track the tides.
Oh, so you don't like get washed away?
Yeah, well, or you just can't traverse it.
Yeah, you can try.
The weirdest thing was every night when you have a campfire on the beach and then you can get going, there would be all these little bugs, and they'd hop along and they'd hop into the fire.
Oh, like they're like the sun.
Yeah, I don't know what. Like you just look at the sand and hundreds of them just like bouncing. They look like little fleas almost, and just right into the fire.
Jeez. Sometimes you think of like, how do things exist?
You wonder.
You wonder.
You really wonder.
There's just so many of them.
Anyone's listening who knows what those were, I still to this day I probably could have looked it up, but I never did.
Yeah.
So leave a comment on what type of bug that would have been.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. So we are at Olympic National Park, as we said, in Washington State. The sublocation is Daniel J. Evans Wilderness. It's roughly 6.5 miles up the Sol Duc Hot Springs Road.
Sol Duc
Hot Springs Road near milepost 6.3, about 40 feet east of the Sol Duc River. It was established in 1938 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It sees about 2.95 million visitors per year. That's as of 2023, making it the 10th most visited U.S. national park. The park boasts a local economy of about $393 million per year and supports over 2,990 jobs in the region. So a little habitation history of the area. 12,000 plus years ago, Paleo-Indians likely arrived in the Olympic Peninsula region after the last ice age. Early inhabitants were hunter-gatherers living off of abundant marine life, game, and plant resources. Archaeological evidence from the sites like the Manus Macedon site, it's near Sequim, it's 13,800 years old. I was going to say 13.8 million. Suggests early human activity in the area. In pre-1700s, the Olympic Peninsula was and remains home to several coast Salish tribes, each with distinct languages and cultures. It depended heavily on fishing, especially salmon and whales, built cedar longhouses and dugout canoes, and practiced potlatch ceremonies. They maintained deep spiritual ties to the mountains, rivers, forests, and ocean. 1700s to the 1800s, so in 1778, British explorer James Cook maps the Pacific Northwest coast. 1790s to the 1800s, increased visits by fur traders, Russians, Spanish, British, and later American expeditions. By the mid-1800s, disease, especially smallpox and land pressures, severely affected the native populations. In the late 1800s, so 1885 to 1890, explorers like Lieutenant Joseph O'Neill and the 1890 Press Expedition traversed the Olympic interior, documenting its rugged and wild nature. The mysterious and forbidding nature of the mountains contributed to legends of them being the last unexplored region in the continental U.S. Scientific interest and public fascination with the region's biodiversity began to grow. So we'll get into a little bit of the climate. It is a western lowland, temperate rainforest. Annual rainfall is 140 to 170 inches. So winter temps will be from 35 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
And that is the western lowlands. So this breaks it up into different pieces.
Okay, so this is the western lowlands.
Yeah.
It's mild and wet. Summer temps, 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, cool, humid, and some sun. So some key traits of this area: extremely lush forests with moss and ferns. If you've ever seen the Twilight movies, that's where they filmed a lot of that. We're gonna go hit some Twilight spots.
Most of the X-Files was filmed in the Pacific Northwest in Canada.
It's
Like the
better when you
Vancouver
think of it
area.
as the Twilight movies.
Oh, I think of it as X-Files.
No, I'm just messing with
A
you.
lot of like anything that was filmed out in a forest was usually the Vancouver area.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm excited to see all of it. I mean, it just looks beautiful. So I'm so excited. Frequent rain, overcast skies. Fog is common in the mornings. Rare snow at low elevations. So the mountain interior. This is Hurricane Ridge and Mount Olympus. Elevations are from 3,000 to 7,980 feet. It is a alpine / subarctic climate. Sees about 35 feet annually in some zones of snowfall. So winter temps are
just a bit of snow.
just a bit. Less than 25 degrees Fahrenheit, heavy snowfall in the winter. Summer temps 30 to 60 degrees, brief but dry. So key traits in that area. Long winters with deep snowpack. If you didn't know, 35 feet's pretty deep. It'll bury your whole house.
Yeah.
Short hiking season, July to September. Avalanches are common in winter and spring. Clear skies and wildflowers in the summer. So the rain shadow region, this is the northeast. Sequim and Port Angeles.
Here, I'll
This is funny. It's not sharing the screen for those listening. For whatever reason, the TV we have in here is connected to my Ring doorbell. So
and we've learned Joe gets a lot of deliveries to his house.
apparently, and this is like never happened. I don't know why this is happening, but anyway, yeah, all of a sudden the TV will just show people at my front door. Like Amazon delivery drivers, whatever. My kids like ordered food. So that's really hilarious. I should have shared the screen. That would have been funny.
That would have been
If
funny.
it happens again, first of all, they're having friend sleepover. They're off of school tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So they're like getting pizza and stuff. But anyway, all right, back to this.
The rain shadow region.
The rain shadow region. It's a semi-arid and rain shadow. Annual rainfall 16 to 20 inches only. Winter temps 30 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Summer temps 55 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Key traits, much drier than the rest of the park. Sunny more often, supports grasslands and drier forests. The terrain. The mountainous interior, the dominant feature is the Olympic Mountains, including glacier-covered Mount Olympus, which towers over 7,980 feet. It has jagged ridges, creeks, deep glacial valleys, over 60 named glaciers. There are frequent rock slides, steep ascents, and avalanche chutes. High elevation meadows and alpine lakes. So it's pretty
It's pretty
difficult,
rugged.
pretty rugged mountain.
We stayed in the western lowlands and we were there, and obviously on the coast. We didn't really venture to that part of the park.
Okay. I'm going to try and get there. We'll see, though.
Yeah.
In the temperate rainforest, we have the western slopes, the locations of Ho, the Keats, the Kulno, and the Bagashiel valleys.
Good job.
Yep, maybe. We'll see. Key features in the area. Low elevation, flat to rolling valley floors, thick understory with massive sitkas, Sitka spruce, western hemlock, moss-draped logs, ferns, and soft water-saturated ground. Frequent drowned trees and obscured trails. Watch out for that. At the mid-elevation, these are the transition zones between the coast and the alpine areas. So some of the features are rolling hills to steep forested slopes, dense Douglas fir, red cedar, and maple forests, intersected by rivers, creeks, and waterfalls, often muddy and root-covered trails. Then that brings us to the Pacific coastline. The western edge is 73 miles of protected wilderness coastline. It has rocky headlands, sea stacks, tide pools, and pocket beaches, driftwood-strewn shores, and dense coastal forest just inland. Frequent elevation changes via cliffs and rope assist routes. Tidal crossings required in some routes. So that's what we were talking about before, where you have to like move at low tide and not be there when high tide comes in.
Yeah, you pick up a tide chart from the ranger's office and know when you can hike, because you'll just be stuck. You won't be able to keep going forward.
Yeah.
So
No bueno.
no.
All right. Some of the animals or dangers you might run into in the area: black bear, mountain goats, Roosevelt elk, cougars, coyotes, and then there's ticks, mosquitoes, biting flies, yellow jackets, wasps, and those bugs that jump into fire when you hit them.
Yes.
You got to watch out for those because they just have nothing to lose.
No.
So, steep, rugged terrain, there's loose scree, rockfall, and steep slopes, especially in the alpine zones. Slippery trails from moss roots or wet surfaces. You can get hypothermia because it's cold and wet, sudden weather changes, lightning, giardia and bacteria, and there is no cell service in most of the park's interior unless you have a new phone that has satellite.
Yes.
I just got a phone with satellite. It
did you?
feels so good. It's the new Pixel I got.
Yeah,
It has SOS for satellite.
Yeah, the new iPhone for, I think still you're able to send satellite texts.
They're going to put us out of business.
What?
Satellite phones.
Put who out of
Everyone's
business?
cell phone's going to have satellite. Us, our show.
Oh, yeah.
No one. If you bring your phone, you're not going to go. If you go missing, satellite. So, all right, yeah, maybe, and don't buy the new phones.
Yeah, don't buy it.
This is weird. It's like we want you to be safe, but maybe not.
Well, we still have a lot of cases to cover.
Yeah, we have like thousands. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
So, essentials for safe backcountry travel: topographic map and compass. We always say that. GPS or satellite communicator if you have a new phone. Bear canisters and bear spray. Layers for wet and cold weather. You want to have the ability to put dry clothes on, especially if you're camping in your tent. Water filter for and purifications. So you're not getting the giardia. First aid kit, headlamp, and knowledge of routes, exit points, and weather windows. So, Mike, how about you tell us about Jacob Gray?
Yeah, so the name of tonight's case is Jacob Randall Gray. He was born November 15th, 1994, went missing April 6th of 2017. He was a male, age 22. Proximate height was 5'11". Proximate weight was between 145 and 160 pounds. He had brown hair, hazel eyes. Other features: light facial hair, lean, muscular frame. He was known for a quiet demeanor and intense eyes. So, clothing gear he might have been, he was last seen in. So he had a touring-style bicycle with a red and yellow burly cargo trailer. He had a tent, sleeping bag, and standard backpacking provisions. He had a bow and arrows. He had food, lighter, insulated clothing. He had identification with him.
For those wondering, intense eyes convey a strong emotional state or are perceived as captivating or even intimidating.
Can you maybe pull up a picture of intense eyes? So
I think
the audience
can
know what you're talking
This is
about.
important for the people who just signed up for YouTube.
Yeah. I'm curious what intense eyes look like. I'm sure I've seen intense eyes.
I feel like it's going to be, you know, when they talk about smoldering, like when you smolder,
Yeah.
I bet it's going to be that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, look at that. You know what? These eyes are really intense.
Yeah.
If you're just listening, go Google search intense eyes and you'll go, oh, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Oh, she looks crazy.
Some are more intense than other.
That's crazy
Others,
eyes.
yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
Type in intense eyes, Nicolas Cage. Then we'll get back to the episode.
Oh, weird. That search was already in my search bar. No, I'm just kidding. Yep. Accurate.
So
it's
that
basically, first of all, the first one is just googly eyes. Second one is face off.
Fun little story about that second picture of Nick Cage. When Joe and I used to work together, I came in one day and Joe had gotten there earlier and printed out about 1,000 of those and hid one in every nook and cranny of the office, in between folders, taped it to the backs of like cabinets. So every time I opened something for like the next 3 months, I'd find a picture of that Nick Cage.
And if any of our employees are listening, you just outed me because I started doing that.
Oh,
again.
you're doing that again?
And I told no one. There are once again, like anytime, no, we're not. Anytime I'm at work, I have my tablet that I keep around.
Yeah.
I have like 100 of them.
Yeah.
Back there, and if I have the opportunity, like pop one under like a keyboard, and an email went out like from housekeeping.
Yeah.
For a while, it's like whoever is putting Nicolas Cage, like please stop. Everyone's like, and I went around pretending like not upset, but like, okay, guys, come on, this is a professional work environment. Like, who's doing this? And
Yeah.
I'm the one like going around doing the witch hunt. And so
That is
yes.
funny.
Oh yeah, it's called caging.
Caging.
I'm a huge fan of Nick Cage and caging the workplace.
And do you, just real quick, we'll cut this part out.
No,
Do you
you
have the Zoom right on the screen? Just
Zoom?
double check.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah,
Oh.
we're good.
okay.
We're in like the infinite.
I apologize. Our previous episode,
See, it's right.
Okay. Yeah, we had it all goofed up. I'm gonna have to fix that. But
Yes.
we'll cut all this out. This is
No, we won't.
this is how the sausage gets
But
made.
yeah, basically it's all the funny,
called Cajun.
weird faces Nick Cage, and you cut out just his head and just put him places.
And those are some intense eyes in a lot of these.
These are all intense eyes. He's an intense individual.
Take his face off.
Yeah. My face off.
This is the second episode in a row we've talked about Nick Cage.
I love Nick Cage. I have a Nick Cage pillow.
Do you really?
I do. I have a pillow where it's his face. It's just his big face. And I got my son a Nick Cage blanket where the whole blanket is just his face.
Oh my gosh.
It's a funny joke in my life.
That's a little terrifying though.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I'll take a picture of it and like share it on the socials just so everyone can see it.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the
Back
task
to
at
the
hand.
actual case. So we were talking about gear yet on him. So he did have identification on him. He did not have a GPS or satellite communication on him, or that equipment wasn't found. Personality, so he was quiet, introspective, and deeply connected to nature. Described as highly intelligent, gentle, and contemplative. Often read philosophy and spiritual writings. He avoided social media. He was very private but deeply thoughtful. He believed in testing himself and seeking solitude. He was extremely independent and confident in the wilderness. And he was close to family, especially his father, Randy. But he didn't always share his hiking plans. Medical issues, no known physical health issues. Being a young, fit 22-year-old, not uncommon. And he had no confirmed history of mental illness, but friends and family did note that he was reflective and possibly going through an intense period of self-discovery and emotional searching. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through the timeline. He, occupation, unknown. Is that a video of him?
I'm going to see. You can keep going. I'll turn
Okay.
the volume down just in case. But yeah, this is like a Jacob Gray missing page.
Oh.
So I'll start pulling stuff up. I'm
Okay.
not sharing it just yet. I'm getting things queued.
Getting things queued. Okay, so we don't know what he did for work, but he was into wilderness exploration and long-distance biking. Like we said, he was into reading. He did surfing and other outdoor adventure sports, and he did practice archery. Like I said, he carried a bow with him. So his experience in the wilderness, from everything I read, was pretty high. He grew up exploring the outdoors in Santa Cruz, California. He had also previously completed several solo wilderness trips, so this wasn't unusual for him. And he was very comfortable understanding basic survival skills and navigating rugged environments. So experience in this location, it's not known if Jacob had ever been to Olympic National Park prior to this trip. He had spent time in the Pacific Northwest, including Port Townsend, Washington, where he stayed with his grandmother before departing. And he appears to have studied the area but did not share the route with any friends or family, which obviously leaves uncertainty about whether he had a destination or a specific goal.
And I have his bike in Burley. And if you don't know what a Burley is, it's one of those like child carriers that you pull behind a bike. So he's probably using it for gear, obviously. But
yeah, that's what he was
it
using.
seems like it's just kind of not crashed, but like, would you call that strewn about?
We'll get into it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting way ahead. Sorry.
You're getting way ahead.
I'm sorry. Here's just a
It's
picture.
okay.
He's a good looking guy. All right, go on. Sorry.
Okay.
I did what you did.
I know. I was better about it.
I know, right? You need to chastise me now. It's your turn.
All right. Well, the timeline starts April 5th of 2017, which is a Wednesday. I did find one source that listed April 4th, but all the other news sources stated April 5th, so we're going with April 5th of 2017. Okay. So Jacob leaves his grandmother's home in Port Townsend, Washington, heading out alone on a bicycle trip loaded with camping gear. He departs in the evening, towing a yellow and red Burley bike, which Joe preemptively shared.
Here, I'll pull it up again. Here
Burley
we go.
bike trailer. It was filled with supplies. His plans were to journey through Olympic National Park and eventually east towards Vermont to visit his brother. And I don't believe that Vermont is in the state. There must be a town in the area called Vermont. Maybe he did plan to ride his bike all the way to Vermont.
All the way.
I don't think that's the case. We'll have Joe investigate if there's
Yes.
is there a Vermont, Washington?
I'm sure there is.
So, like I had mentioned
Yes.
Town in
Wait, no. There's a Washington town in Vermont. Washington, Vermont. Washington town in Orange County, Vermont. All right, keep going.
Okay. We'll get to the bottom of this because I kind of want to know now if he. Nothing else I read said he was actually planning to ride cross country to Vermont.
Yeah. Just keep going. I think this is going to take me a minute.
Okay. So, like I said in the character profile, he was experienced in the outdoors, but we don't know if he had been to Olympic National Park before. It is now April 6th of 2017. This is a Thursday. In the afternoon, visitors in Olympic National Park discover an abandoned mountain bike with a gear trailer along the Solduke River Springs Road near Solduke River. And Joe is now showing the picture of that bike again.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Vermont there. He might have been trying to go to Vermont.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing. I did a quick Google search, but I figure like if there's a city, I put Vermont, Washington State. And I was not finding it, so I don't think there is. And if I'm wrong, tell me about it. So,
I just asked our friendly overlords.
ChatGPT.
No, just AI on Google. There is no town called Vermont.
All
so
right. He must have been going to Vermont.
So you talk about the pictures here quick. I don't look something up. This is gonna bug me.
Okay. Here's a picture of a bike in a Burley. No. What I'll do is I'm gonna play this video. I don't know if there's audio on it, but it's from a Facebook page that's like Find. I think what's it called? Yeah, Find Jacob Gray. So let's get some audio going here and see what it says. He's just doing selfie faces. All right, he's just doing a 360 here, so he didn't say anything. But
Okay,
he's on the top of a mountain.
I have an update on the Vermont Gate.
Oh, yeah, Vermont Gate. Good job.
So I probably should have included this detail because it really bugged me when I just kind of glossed over it. But he actually did plan. Well, his mother said that he was potentially planning to bike to Vermont, and that it might take him 2 years to make the trip.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, clarification: he was actually thinking about biking all the way to Vermont from Washington State. So, all right. Like I said, it's April 6th of 2017. It's a Thursday. Visitors in Olympic National Park discovered the abandoned bike, like I said, near the Solduke River Springs Road, near the Solduke River. Rangers respond and find the bike and trailer upright and intact with camping gear spread out on a tarp nearby. The spot is about 6.5 miles up the road from Highway 101, and the gear is plainly visible about 40 feet from the road and 40 feet east of the riverbank. Now, this was a dispatch from law enforcement that was sent out to the public. It said Jacob Gray's bicycle and gear trailer is found off Solduke Road on April 6, 2017. Rangers noted the equipment was in working order and even observed arrows stuck in the ground near the tarp. Recognizing the situation unusual, park law enforcement rangers conduct a hasty search of the area that evening, checking the immediate woods and riverbank for any sign of the cyclist. At this time, no missing persons report had been filed, so at first, rangers weren't sure whose gear it was. The abandoned gear included a wallet, ID, food, camping supplies, and even a bow with arrows. This raised concern that its owner may have fallen into the cold, fast-flowing Solduke River. It's now April 17th, 2017, which is Friday. Park staff identify the gear's owner as Jacob Gray after finding a list of phone numbers among his belongings. Ranger Brian Ray contacts Gray's family to notify them of the situation. That day, rangers widened the search along the Solduke River Springs Road corridor, checking trailheads and the nearby Solduke River Springs Resort, but no witnesses there recalled seeing the cyclist. And what do we got up? Okay, you've got the spot.
Yeah, this points to Solduke Hot Springs Resort up here.
Okay.
So there's like the river.
So that's the general area where he went missing.
Yeah, it's like northwest Olympic National Park.
Okay.
Near an Olympic National Forest. So kind of, if you're from the area by Crescent Lake.
Okay. So by now, with Gray still missing and his gear left behind in good condition, park officials suspect he may have been injured or swept into the 40 degree Fahrenheit river and plan to keep searching, though river conditions were hazardous at the time. According to one ranger's report, there was already speculation that if Gray was in the river, they might have to check the river in the summer when the water goes down due to spring runoff levels. It's now April 8th to April 10th of 2017, so this would be Saturday to Monday. Intensive search efforts continue over the weekend. Olympic National Park search teams concentrate on the Solduc River itself, which is running high and swift with snowmelt. They search the riverbanks and scan the water where possible, looking for any sign of Gray. Despite the challenging conditions, rangers on foot and a Swiftwater rescue team survey areas along the east side of the river near where the bike was found, but no trace of Jacob was there. During this period, Jacob's family begins traveling to Washington to assist in the search. His father, Randy Gray, drives north from Santa Cruz, California through the night, and other relatives fly in from out of state. By April 11th, 2017, which is Tuesday, trained mountaineers from Olympic Mountain Rescue, which is a volunteer search and rescue unit, joined the effort to bolster manpower and expertise. Some sources, when I was researching this, did state this happened on April 12th, and others stated it happened on April 11th. So I wanted to note that. So by this time, Jacob's father, Randy, and his sister, Mallory, have arrived at the park to aid in the search, and they are dismayed to learn that no large-scale search had been initiated yet by authorities beyond the park's limited efforts. Taking matters into their own hands, the family presses park officials for more action. Jacob's aunt even demands an intense search and a conversation with a park ranger. That same day, Randy Gray, an experienced surfer, puts on a wetsuit and personally begins searching the frigid Solduc River for any sign of his son. So this is a constant story we've heard throughout many cases. You know, obviously, family really want their loved one found, and it sometimes doesn't matter how big the search is. It's, you know, it can seem like it's not big enough.
Yeah.
And I understand why they feel that way.
Oh, 100%.
But you got to give Randy Gray credit. I mean, he, like, you know what? He just put a wetsuit on and started searching the river himself. I mean, we don't have many cases where, you know, the father is doing difficult searching like that. I mean, a lot of people will, you know, do ground searches with the rescue, but no one, I don't think we've had a case where we've had a family member do something like that yet. So
yeah,
pretty impressive. Really got to give credit to Randy Gray for doing that. He was diving into pools. He was checking behind waterfalls. He was scanning under log jams. He even sustained mild hypothermia and trench foot throughout the process.
So he was in the water a long time.
Yeah. So, and when he wasn't in the water, he was bushwhacking through the dense rainforest along the banks. He refused to give up. The coordinated search effort also expands on land. Olympic mountain rescue crews methodically scour both sides of the river and surrounding forests. Notably, they find evidence on the east bank suggesting Jacob may have slipped on a mossy rock at the water's edge and fallen in, as well as possible footprints and disturbances indicating someone climbed out of the river further downstream on the opposite bank. This clue prompts searchers to consider that Gray managed to reach the west side of the Solduc River after the fall. It's now April 12th of 2017, so search teams extend their operation beyond the national park boundary. Olympic Mountain Rescue Volunteers and Cle County authorities explore roughly a 4 square mile area on the west side of the Solduc River into Olympic National Forest land outside the park. The theory at the time was that if Jacob had exited the river on the west bank, he may have trekked into the woods or along old roads there. So, indeed, searchers discovered weak old boot prints among the tree roots on the riverbank leading toward the west side. And at the time, they presumed these to be tracks from Jacob. They also noted a scuff mark on a mossy boulder in the river consistent with someone scrambling out of the water. Despite these new clues, no definitive sighting of Gray is made. Family members included Jacob's mother, Laura, who flew up from the family's home in Bellevue, Washington, joined the ground search teams in the field. Morale, though, was tested through this time by rain and rough terrain, but the discovery of prints fueled hope that Jacob might be sheltering somewhere in the vast part of the national forest. So they weren't giving up hope just yet. Sorry.
You're good.
The stupid microphone.
Yeah, that's because you keep touching it.
I know. I keep futzing with it.
If you stop futzing with it, it would just be fine.
I know. So it's now April 13th of 2017. We'll cut all that.
No, we won't.
It's Thursday. A K-9 unit is brought in as the search continues. An Everett Mountain Rescue K-9 team with a cadaver dog searches along the west bank of the Solduke River downstream of the bike site. By now, it's been nearly a full week after the disappearance. The search leaders acknowledge they may be looking for recovery rather than rescue, and that's a pretty accurate assessment based on the fact they believe he did fall in and then climb back out. And we're talking, the weather, the river was 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. That's incredibly cold.
That is really
I don't know
cold.
if anyone's ever done like a polar plunge, but
I have.
It's about that temp.
I always tried to get you to do it with me, and
Yeah.
you never did.
I'm not a polar plunge person.
Yeah. For those watching the screens, I'm just playing a video his sister put together of like pictures and videos. So there's no audio, but it'll just be playing in the background. So
Okay. So, like we said, they are really coming to the realization that this is probably leaning more towards a recovery at this point than a rescue. And indeed, 2 cadaver dogs independently alert to some large logjam in the river about a mile downstream, suggesting the possible presence of human remains in or under the tangle of debris. Rangers are unable to dismantle that logjam safely in the high water, but they make note of it for later investigation. But aside from the dog hits, no new clues are found on this day. Olympic National Park issues a press release on April 13th, appealing to any hikers or river rafters who might have seen Jacob Gray to come forward with information. The NPS release also summarizes the search efforts to date and confirms Jacob has been missing since April 6th. It's now April 14th of 2017. This would be a Friday. After 8 days of intensive searching, the National Park Service scales back the operation. Olympic National Park officials announced the transition to a limited continuous search, meaning park rangers will continue investigating any new leads that arise, but there will be no active large-scale field searches going forward. Acting Park Superintendent Lee Taylor thanks all those involved for their exhaustive efforts and expressed sympathy to Jacob's loved ones during these very trying times, which was quote. So effectively, the formal NPS search is suspended due to lack of results. The park had no coordinated search crews, dog teams, and even aerial observation. So no helicopters were deployed, and the Coast Guard was notably never requested. With the park's operation winding down, responsibility now shifts more to local authorities and the Gray family to decide the next steps. So April 15th, 2017, this is a Saturday. The Clallam County Search and Rescue team takes the lead on a final intensive push over the weekend. On April 15th, the SAR team, deputies, and dozens of volunteers mobilized to search the rugged terrain west of the Solduke River, including areas both inside and outside the park. The searchers split into ground teams and grid search the forest west of the river, while others cover the riverbanks. They post flyers about the missing man at trailheads, park visitor centers, gas stations in Port Angeles to the east, and Forks to the west, spreading the word to the community at large. So during this operation, searchers reportedly locate a pair of men's shorts a couple miles downstream from where Jacob's bike was found. The shorts are in Jacob's size and even the same brand, which was Burnside, as a pair he owned, raising suspicions they could belong to him. So they actually collected the clothing and sent it to the Washington State Crime Lab in Seattle for DNA testing, though later, when the results came back, they were inconclusive or not matching, and the shorts were ultimately not proven to be Jacob's. Other minor items and possible traces are documented, but nothing proves to be a clear breakthrough. By April 16th, The county SAR officials also scaled down their active search, having exhausted the areas of highest probability with no sign of Jacob. So at this point, it's been 10 days, pretty intensive search, though there was no aerial searching, which is a little unusual. I guess this
Probably
is
so dense.
a very rugged, dense area.
Yeah,
so
you're not going to be able to see anything.
yeah. So timeline, fast forward now, it's between April and June of 2017. In the weeks following the official search, Jacob's family refuses to give up. Randy remains in the Olympic Peninsula for some time after the formal search ends, searching relentlessly on his own with friends. He repeatedly hikes through the Solduke Valley, rafted sections of the river, and checks remote forest areas, hoping for any sign of his son. And this is a quote from him. He said, "I lost track of how many times I searched the Solduke Valley," Randy later said of this time. The family still maintains the family at this time maintains the Find Jacob Ray Facebook page to keep Jacob's story in the public eye and coordinate volunteer efforts. They share updates, memories, and pleas for help, garnering support from both the local community and concerned people online. Jacob's disappearance begins to gain wider notice among outdoor enthusiasts and missing persons advocates. The case is discussed on forums like Web Sleuths and Reddit, and it is noted as an example of the mysterious surrounding people who vanish in America's national parks. Throughout the spring and early summer, volunteer searchers, including members of Olympic Mountain Rescue, continue periodic ground searches in the Solduke area whenever conditions allow. By early summer, snow at higher elevations is melting, which could reveal new clues. The family remains in contact with local SAR authorities and park rangers, urging that search efforts resume once river levels drop. So it's now July 29th of 2017. With the improved conditions of summer, a massive coordinated search is launched to recheck the Solduke River corridor. Local sheriff's office organizes the operation, calling over 100 search and rescue volunteers from across western Washington. Teams from multiple counties, so Tulalip, Snohomish, Kitsap, Pierce, Mason, and Jefferson, volunteer groups like Olympic Mountain Rescue, Northwest Search Dogs, and even inmate search teams converge for a single-day push, one of the largest SAR operations in the county's recent history. And did the Facebook page show any of the search efforts going on?
Yeah, I was playing some of them. I'll go through it again. There's a little album. It was only of like the staging area.
Okay.
So it didn't really have people out there looking.
Yeah.
I'll scroll up and get it going. I'm not sharing the screen right now, but I will in a second.
Gotcha. So Jacob's mother, Laura Gray, and other family members join the searchers at the command center, tearfully thanking everyone who came out. This was a dispatch from the search. It said it was a search and rescue volunteers briefing for July 29th of 2017. It said over 100 people, including K9 units and Swiftwater teams, participated in one of the largest searches in the region's history. The volunteers break into 10 ground teams, 8 dog teams, and a Swiftwater rescue unit to systematically cover roughly a 10-mile stretch of the Solduke River and adjacent forest. As the search progresses, cadaver dogs show interest in 3 separate locations along the river, including a large log jam that had been flagged back in April. Divers and Swiftwater specialists attempt to probe these log jams and deep pools. Searchers also find and catalog about 20 pieces of possible evidence, things like clothing fragments, a pair of sweatpants, a bandana, socks, and bone fragments, but nothing definitively linked to Jacob is recovered. A small piece of bone is found on the riverbank, for example, and it was later examined by anthropologists and determined to be from an animal, not a human. By the end of the day, no human remains or clear sign of Jacob is found. This was a quote from one of the SAR people. Can't talk. He said, "I was hoping we could find something. We were able to clear a lot of areas, so still nothing." So Despite the disappointing outcome, the Gray family expresses their deep gratitude for the unprecedented support. On the Find Jacob Gray page, they post thanks to Sergeant Moore for superbly orchestrating the huge search, and to all the volunteers for their professionalism, skill, and kindness. Randy Gray remarks on how surreal it was to see so many people looking for his son, and holds on to hope that Jacob might somehow still be alive, figuring out his life somewhere. Were you able to find a picture of Randy Gray? I'm kind of curious.
Randy Gray? I will find it.
Yeah, the father.
I was taking selfies of us for the Instagram page.
Quick. There you go.
I will find it. Let's see. Randy Gray.
Randy also voiced his desire that what they've gone through will lead to faster, larger search responses in the future National Park missing persons cases. He was quoted, "I hope this changes the whole aspect of search and rescue so more lives will be saved." It's now mid-August of 2017. So following up on the cadaver dog alerts from July, officials plan a more focused search in mid-August once water levels drop a bit further. Around the third week of August, the local SAR and search dog teams returned to 3 specific sites along the Solduke where the dogs had signaled possible human scent. These include the massive log jam that we've talked about a couple times, and 2 other riverbank spots that couldn't be thoroughly examined during the July 29th operation. Smaller teams, so around 15 to 20 people with 3 cadaver dog units, spent a couple days scouring those areas in depth. There we go. Is that a picture of Randy?
Yep.
He kind of looks...
And that's Jacob Little on a riding mower.
He kind of reminds me of... what's the guy's name? He played a character in Family Guy. He's got a real, like...
Oh, he always plays a Southern...
yeah.
I know who you're talking about. I'll find him.
He was in the beginning of The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, he's got a really low voice. Yeah. He always plays like... Yep, I know exactly who
he looks kind of like him.
Yep. Yes, he does. I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'll find him.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about.
By now, the river is lower, so it's allowing searchers to get into crevices and under logs that were previously inaccessible. Oh, there he is.
Sam Elliott.
I
literally searched cowboy low voice.
So for those of you just listening, Jacob's dad looks a lot like Sam Elliott.
I was not sharing the screen because I didn't want to have them see me type cowboy low voice. But yeah, he
the version of Sam Elliott with
let's see here. Oh yeah, he looks a lot like Sam Elliott.
Yeah, like he could be his brother.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
He's a younger Sam Elliott, kinda. Look at yeah. Wow.
For anyone listening, you can kind of get a picture of what his dad sounds pretty, he was scouring rivers, he's hiking.
It's back to that commitment thing that I was talking to you before. I think an actor's job
this is Sam Elliott's voice.
And it doesn't mean that his...
So for those listening, you might recognize that. Maybe not. But anyway,
he
looks a lot like
Sam
Sam
Elliott.
Elliott.
On tangents tonight.
Yeah, we need to stop doing that.
So unfortunately, this targeted search again turns up no trace of Jacob. The logjam is broken apart and nothing is found beneath. Scent dogs no longer alert, strongly suggesting that any trace picked up earlier may have been residual or a false indication. With the last effort exhausted, the active search for Jacob winds down. So as summer 2017 ends, Jacob's whereabouts remain a mystery. His family, though devastated by the lack of answers, continue to honor his love of the wilderness and keep the faith that one day there will be closure. It's now spring/summer of 2018, so more than a year has passed with no sign of Jacob. The Gray family continues to keep the story alive through social media and periodic media interviews, making the 1-year anniversary of his disappearance in April 2018. Again, the case begins to draw broader public attention as an example of an unexplained disappearance in the wild. Outdoor magazines and websites mention Jacob's case among baffling national park mysteries, and the author John Billman follows the family saga closely and later writes a book about it. Randy Gray continues to search whenever he can. He extends his search beyond Washington, following up on any rumors of possible sightings as far away as Alaska and Canada, still holding out that sliver of hope that Jacob might have survived and wandered elsewhere. However, throughout this time, no credible sightings ever materialized. It's August 10th now, 2018, which is Friday, and this is when a breakthrough finally happened in the case. So, in a remote section of Olympic National Park, it was late in the afternoon on August 10th, a park wildlife crew, so this would be a biologist studying Olympic marmots, so not even involved with the case. They're out there studying
Marmots.
We've got some audience.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. So yeah, they were out there studying marmots. Happen upon
screen.
Yeah, there you go.
There's like having a beer in the window.
That's Milwaukee. That's
It's just getting warm out.
It's getting warm out. Well,
All right,
not
keep going, Mike.
It's cold.
You
But
get so distracted.
I know.
Let the show go on.
We won't be doing this too much. We got to take it in.
Yes, we got to take it in.
We're not gonna have our windows for much longer.
Yes, unless we buy the building. Sign up for Patreon.
Yeah, right. You've got 1 month. So, like I said, biologists studying Olympic marmots happen upon some abandoned equipment and clothing in a very isolated area high in the mountains.
You lose your spot.
My computer briefly froze there. So
Nice.
they are near Hoh Lake, a backcountry alpine lake in the northwest part of the park, about 10 miles from the Sol Duke trailhead and roughly 15 miles west from where Jacob's bike was found. The site is off trail on a rocky ridge above the lake at approximately 5,300 feet. It would have been snow covered at the time and avalanche prone back in early 2017. The biologists note that the clothing and gear seem out of place and recall the ongoing case of the missing bicyclist. They notify park rangers of the find due to the late hour and rugged location. A full examination has to wait for the next day. The remote lake area in Olympic National Park near where Jacob Gray's remains were found in August 2018. The site lies in the Daniel J. Evans Wilderness, far from any road or easy access. So could you pull up a map and see where this is? Because just look up H-O-H Lake.
Oh, Hoh Lake.
Yeah, Hoh Lake.
I feel like we were just looking at Hoh Lake, weren't we? Oh, this is really far away.
Yeah,
So if you're watching-
15 miles from where his bike was found.
Yeah, if you're watching the screen, it just went way over there.
Yeah.
What was the area again, they said?
Just near that lake.
So not in the lake, near the lake.
No. And it's in the Daniel J. Wilderness area.
I think this whole area might be that.
So, it's August 11th now, 2018, Saturday. So early next morning, law enforcement rangers and investigators hike into the lake area to search around the coordinates provided by the Marmot research team. There they discover skeletal human remains along with personal items that had clearly been exposed to elements for some time. They find additional clothing, a backpack, and camping gear that unfortunately matches the description of items Jacob Gray was carrying when he disappeared. A wallet containing identification is also recovered, strongly indicating the remains were Jacob's.
That's so sad.
The remains appear to have been scattered, possibly by animals or weather, but there are no obvious signs of foul play, such as bullet shells or weapons present. The location is a treeless ridge not far from Hoh Lake, without evidence of a formal campsite or shelter having been made. Investigators theorize Jacob made it atop the ridge under his own power. Notably, at the scene, they find that Jacob still had ample supplies, including food, an insulated jacket, and a lighter with him when he died. This suggests he did not run out of provisions, but may have succumbed to the harsh conditions, Rangers secured the area and carefully collected the human remains for analysis, all while keeping the discovery relatively quiet until a positive identification is made. It's now April 13th, 2018, which is a Monday, so news of the discovery is shared with the Gray family, who at last receive a phone call they had been both dreading and desperately waiting for. Jacob has been found. The family announces the development publicly on the Find Jacob Gray Facebook page on August 13th, stating that Jacob's remains were located near the Lake and Olympic National Park. The announcement quickly filters to the media. After 16 months of uncertainty, the story shifts from a search to a recovery. I don't know, because you're on that page right now.
Yeah, I'm on the Facebook page. I'm going to go to the August 13th. There's August 31st. Oh, I wonder if they don't have it on here anymore.
Huh. Well, that could have been... we got to go to 2018.
Oh, 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops. Good call.
No worries.
They were sharing a lot of stuff about other people that went missing, too.
Yeah, a lot of these pages will do that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're getting close.
It was August 16th?
13th.
13th. Oh, I went past it then. Yep. With a broken heart, I want to let you know that Jacob's body was found this weekend at Hoh Lake in the Olympics. There are a lot of unknown details at this point, but it has hit the news and people are finding out. I wanted to post personally and thank each of you for your love and support and help through this nightmare. I'll update this page as more information becomes available.
So, in her mind, it made sense that he stayed in the wilderness rather than attempting to hike out to civilization. She describes herself as a wreck emotionally, but finding her son provides at least an answer and the possibility of a proper goodbye. On August 15th of 2018, a Wednesday, the Clallam County Coroner's Office and King County Medical Examiner confirmed the identity of the remains. They used dental records. The skeletal remains were officially identified as Jacob Gray. The King County Medical Examiner's forensic anthropologist examines the bones for any indications of cause of death or injury. There were no signs of traumatic injury, such as a fracture from a fall or marks from an animal or weapon, were present on the remains. Olympic National Park Superintendent Sarah Kriechbaum issues a public statement offering our deepest sympathies to the Gray family and friends in a difficult time. The Park Service, along with the Clallam County officials, also state that there are no indication of foul play at the scene. All evidence points to an accident or misadventure in the wilderness. With the identification complete, Jacob's body in the form of recovered bones is turned over to the family. So, they finally got their closure. It's now late August of 2018. In the weeks following the discovery, officials worked to determine how Jacob died on that remote ridge. A forensic anthropologist from King County Medical Examiner's Office conducts a detailed analysis of the remains. By late August, the Clallam County's assistant coroner reports that the exact cause and manner of death are undetermined, which means could not be determined due to skeletal condition of Jacob's body. Hypothermia was strongly suspected. Jacob likely died of exposure to the elements, but the anthropologist cannot say that with 100% certainty given the evidence. She would go on to say there were no injuries or signs of foul play, so the death is considered probably from natural causes, meaning an accident related to the environment. Coroner's office rules the cause of death as inconclusive, with the most likely scenario being that Jacob succumbed to the hypothermia in the freezing snowy conditions high above the lake. It's worth noting that Jacob had been well equipped with food and gear, but he still potentially got lost and succumbed to hypothermia. Exactly why he went so far into the mountains and what happened in his final days still remains unknown. The National Park Service keeps the case open pending the final written forensics report, but with no evidence of a crime, the active investigation soon winds down. September of 2018, with Jacob's remains identified, the Gray family proceeds with laying him to rest. They organize a memorial service in Santa Cruz, California, the city where Jacob grew up and where the family has deep roots. On Sunday, September 2nd, 2018, around this date, family and friends gather on the Santa Cruz coast for a traditional surfers paddle out ceremony in Jacob's honor. Randy Gray paddles into the ocean on a surfboard along with others, forming a circle beyond the breakers and placing flowers on the water to say goodbye to Jacob, who had been a passionate surfer.
Here's a picture of it.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, look at how many people are out there.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So this was followed by a memorial service where loved ones celebrate Jacob's life and share memories. The family uses the occasion to thank the many volunteers, park rangers, and rescue professionals who never gave up on searching for Jacob. In lieu of flowers, the Gray family asked supporters to donate to search and rescue organizations that helped in the effort to find Jacob. They specifically highlighted the Clallam County Search and Rescue, Olympic Mountain Rescue, and the Red Cross. So after a 16-month ordeal, the family finally had closure, though a lot of questions remained. I'll jump right into theories before I open the floor to what you think happened.
Okay.
So like I said, the leading theory in this one is hypothermia. So Jacob potentially attempted to hike from the Solduc River area into the backcountry during bad weather and succumbed to hypothermia. Evidence that supports this was his remains were found in late August 2018 at a remote ridge over 10 miles from the road where his bike was discovered. He still had food, a lighter, insulated clothing, and gear, indicating he wasn't unprepared but likely overcome by cold and fatigue. The area where he was found was snow-covered. It was steep, prone to avalanches at this time in April. And like I had mentioned, the forensic investigation found no evidence of foul play, traumatic injuries, or animal attack. And, they listed the cause of death as inconclusive but suspected hypothermia. So, how did he get up there? He may have become lost or intentionally sought higher ground, underestimating the difficulty of the terrain or weather, and died from exposure. And another theory was he got disorientated. Is that right?
Disoriented
or disorientated. We've been told.
It does work, but
yeah,
you're wrong.
How'd you say it?
Disoriented.
There we go. So another.
Do you say Worcestershire sauce?
Worcestershire?
Yeah.
Worcestershire.
Yeah.
How
it's
is it
spelled Worcestershire. So
Oh.
you seem like because you say disorientated, you might say Worcestershire.
No, it was Worcestershire.
Okay, so you say that one right. Just want to make sure.
All right. So the second theory is kind of ties into the first one, is that he got disoriented
There you go.
after a river accident. So he might have attempted to cross the river. It's pretty apparent.
So like those signs that they found were probably from him? Okay.
It appears that he had fallen into the river near his campsite, survived, and he was either confused or injured and began wandering deeper into the park until he passed away.
Okay, so like he had gear on him,
Yeah,
which would have made it difficult to get out.
Yeah. He had, and where they found his remains, like he had insulated clothing, he had
Yeah.
food. Evidence supporting this theory was search teams found signs, like I said, someone had likely fallen and exited the river. Dog teams later were alerted to a log jam downstream, which could suggest he may have fallen in and then went downstream in the water a bit until he hit that log jam. And this theory clearly fits with all the footprints and scuff marks they found during the initial search. And it could explain, he crossed the river and continued walking. That would explain maybe why he was up there.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with this theory is that it's unclear why he would then hike uphill and off trail into, heavy snow in the high country rather than going downriver to safety.
Sure.
So that.
Okay, I have opinions.
But it could just be because he was just confused from being cold.
Sure.
Another theory was intentional solitude spiritual quest. So like I had mentioned very early on in this episode, he may have deliberately chosen to venture deep into the wilderness for personal, spiritual, or psychological reasons, possibly as a test of survival, retreat, or self-discovery. Evidence to support this was obviously he was known to be introspective and interested in philosophy and wilderness solitude. He was reportedly reading spiritual and philosophical material in the months before he vanished. And his family noted that he didn't share any detailed plans with anyone, which might point to a personal mission or withdrawal. But theory, points against this theory are there's no hard evidence he intended to die or to disappear. And his preparation suggests he planned to survive. He brought food, gear, a survival bow. That's not the behavior of someone planning to walk, into their own death.
No, I agree with that.
So
100%.
Another theory that people have made was some type of mental health crisis. So Jacob experienced a mental health crisis, possibly triggered by isolation, exposure, or personal factors leading to erratic behavior and ultimately death in the wilderness. Some of the evidence that might suggest this. So solo wilderness travel can exacerbate or unmask mental health struggles in people. Mm-hmm. Some disappearances in national parks have been linked to psychological breakdowns or confusion. And Jacob's actions leading up to this, so leaving his gear, crossing dangerous terrain, traveling without clear direction, could reflect disorganized or irrational behavior. However, he never showed any prior history of mental illness, and his behavior before his trip from those who saw him and were with him didn't raise any red flags. Now, obviously, we've said this lots of times, that doesn't mean anything, but
yeah, it's still... if you have obvious signs, it pushes it more towards that direction.
And everything you were showing of him, the videos, like he looked happy.
It doesn't always mean everything, but like the people that are around him, if they didn't notice any changes, I think that, the spiritual thing, but usually...
But that doesn't seem like a mental health problem.
I won't say usually because I'm not an expert at this, but no, I think...
That just seems like a young guy like trying to figure himself out.
Yeah, like we've all went through those phases.
Yeah, that's not mental... And he had no prior history of any mental illness. Now, that doesn't mean he wasn't suffering from something, but I just don't think...
I think questioning things like that, especially spiritually, is a sign of intelligence. Like he's 22?
22.
And he's already thinking about those types of things.
Yeah.
I don't think I was...
meaning of life.
Exactly. Like
I wasn't thinking about stuff like that.
I was not.
22.
So I was going to say, like I think there's a little bit of a signs of intelligence there. Not saying he wasn't, but like that's a little bit more mature than I was.
Yeah. And he went out there very prepared.
Yes.
Again, this wasn't something he just did on a whim. We've covered cases where it probably is some kind of mental health issue, and those people tend to not prepare very well for their hike.
Yeah.
It's more of like something they do on a whim. Like they just do it.
Like he could have been going out there to introspect.
Yeah.
A little bit. So,
and I don't even know if, just because he was reading, books on philosophy and things like that doesn't necessarily mean that.
I read books on philosophy.
Yeah, a lot of people read.
Yeah.
So it's just a theory. I wanted to put it out there because, he was, kind of trying to connect with that. So I don't think that's a very likely theory. And
I agree with that.
Finally, the least likely theory was foul play. And there's really no evidence to support it. There is a lot, there are crimes that happen in the wilderness that go undetected, but there was no evidence suggesting of assault, robbery, or conflict. His gear was undisturbed and valuable items were left behind. There were no wounds on the bones, no disturbance, and there were no witness reports or rumors from others in the area. So I think, and then you can tell me what you think. I think he accidentally fell into the river. It's spring. It's the snow melts. The snow is melting. The rivers up there get real quick.
Yeah.
At that time,
it's cold water.
And it's cold as hell.
Yeah.
And he fell in, and it wouldn't take you long to have hypothermia set in at 40-degree water.
Yeah, and that's I'm 100% on your train on that one.
Yeah.
I think with the distance that was covered, where they were finding like attempts to get out or things like that, he was soaking wet, and like I probably told it like 40 times in the show, but I've experienced bad decision making from people who are suffering mild hypothermia.
Yeah.
Just in the rain.
Yeah.
So not soaking
head to toe
from a river of freezing water.
Yeah.
So that's where I see like, okay, he gets out of there. If he's already suffering kind of the consequences of that, you're not going to do things that make sense. If you're in hypothermia, like he might be thinking high ground is something like you can't even put logic or reason. If you're suffering from it, you can start doing things that are absolutely would seem insane to somebody who's not in that state.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he just
the rational thing would be to go downstream.
Yes. Try and go back to where you fell in because that's where all your stuff is.
Oh, and if you can't get across the river, just walk, keep going downstream.
Yeah.
Get to lower elevation. That would help with.
Someone else got hit by a scooter.
Oh, that would be
that would have been a great way to
cap this one.
Yeah, to cap this one off.
The rational thing would to go down. You get to lower elevation. The weather will be less severe the lower you go. The last thing you'd want to do if you're soaking head to toe is hike up onto a treeless high ridge.
Yeah,
that's covered in snow.
Yep, completely agree.
So yeah, I think sadly that fall into the river, assuming that was him.
Mm-hmm. Seems highly likely based on like how remote the area is.
Led to hypothermia because he was still, a young, fit guy. He was able to cover a lot of distance in that condition.
So I looked this up because I was assuming that kind of from the beginning. I'd say the one thing that I always try and look for any type of silver lining is overwhelmingly the assumption is it's a very painless death.
Yeah.
So like on like a fall or an injury, like you kind of just get sleepy until you fall asleep permanently.
From hypothermia?
Yeah. So like there's like one caveat is like he's in a beautiful place doing the thing he loved. There's the accident there, but it was probably very painless, outside of like the cold.
Would you say too, your state of mind isn't the same level of consciousness?
Yeah, you're probably not realizing it. So you like none of the doom, maybe. Maybe you just feel cold. I've been very cold. And
it would be really interesting to talk to someone who's survived extreme hypothermia to get their perspective from it.
Yeah. If anyone's listening that has had that or knows someone that has, I would be very interested in that.
It would be interesting to hear the phases of it and what phase has to hit when you kind of check out consciously from it. You're still like moving around and doing things, but like almost I don't know. Maybe it's like you have like a short-term memory loss and you don't remember what happened.
I would be very interested in that.
I'd be very curious to see and hear from someone firsthand who's experienced like extreme hypothermia.
Yeah. Well, I think we're in agreement with probably everybody else, but thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate you all for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find the videos of each episode. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some sweet swag. And additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account and on YouTube and do Mike's deal. Go subscribe on YouTube, then Patreon for free, and you will get a free month. Additionally, I missed it here. There's also the special events and additional shows for paid customers only. So if you just like hang on and keep doing the months after the free one, you get extra special stuff.
Yep.
And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.